Hello and welcome back to Live from Paris. It's time now for Campaign Chronicles, our daily look at the race to be France's next president. And today we're talking about the candidates and their cash. Campaign finance is a subject of much debate in countries like the US, where the role of wealthy donors is heavily scrutinised. In France, where the state pays back a chunk of campaign expenses, it gets less attention. But that doesn't mean it's not controversial. And for more on this, I'm joined now by our press reviewer, Elena Casas. Now, Elena, why is this issue making the headlines at the moment here in France?
Hello, Lorna. Well, it's because of that old chestnut, the Betancourt affair, which has, of course, been around since 2 years ago now. But it's getting closer and closer to President Nicolas Sarkozy, as Le Monde reports today. Now, Betancourt, of course, is accused of handing over envelopes full of cash to fund Nicolas Sarkozy's 2007 election campaign. Her wealth manager, Patrice de Maistre, was questioned over this by police last week. And he apparently, according to Le Monde's information, gave the police some information which allows them to link this more and more closely to Nicolas Sarkozy himself. De Maistre told them the dates when Sarkozy visited the Betancourt family, and the police already know what dates de Maistre withdrew in two separate lots 400,000 euros in cash, which the police consider is suspicious. So this seems to be getting closer and closer to the president himself.
OK, and French presidential candidates do get public funding, though, don't they?
Yes, that's why this sort of questioning about very wealthy donors and them paying presidential candidates doesn't come up quite as much as you might expect, and not as much as it does in the US, for example. So if a candidate gets 5% of votes in the eventual election, all of their expenses are reimbursed by the state up to 8 million euros per candidate. If they get to the second round, that's then 11 million euros, and there's a cap on exactly how much candidates are allowed to spend. They can't spend more than twice that. So Sarkozy, for example, even if he gets to the second round, he can't spend more than 22 million euros officially. That's why there are these accusations about him getting extra bits of money by unorthodox means. Now, all of that is checked by a national accounting board that validates all the candidates' expenses. That's why we know things like in the last election, Sarkozy spent 34,500 euros on makeup, because all of this has to be officially published by the Accounts Commission. Now, for those smaller candidates who are finding it difficult to get to that 5% of votes threshold, they're finding it difficult to finance their campaigns because the state will then only pay them back a maximum of 800,000 euros, which isn't really enough even to hold one big public meeting. So Le Parisien reports today, for example, that the Green candidate, Eva Joly, who's doing really badly in the polls, she's on just 1 or 2%, depending on the poll, she's completely broke and finding it hard to get any campaign cash from anywhere. She's applied apparently to several banks for a loan of 600,000 euros, which no one will give her.
Oh, but on the other hand, some of the candidates have really quite a lot of cash, and they're trying to find ways to avoid that official cap on spending, so they can spend it.
Yes, exactly. Individual donations, for example, are limited to 4,600 euros. That's how much you or I could donate to a candidate if we wanted to. But Le Canard enchaîné today reports that treasurers of campaigns are doing clever things, like if, for example, a wealthy man who wants to donate has a wife and 2 children, he can donate 4 times as much money, saying it's in their names. They're also having a look at the candidate's own personal accounts and how much tax they pay. They've all, of course, called on ordinary people to pay more tax. But the Canard reports today that all the presidential candidates have got their ways of avoiding doing so themselves. Sarkozy, for example, apparently, they reckon, has only declared 2.7 million euros of income and wealth that he currently owns. They think he's got rather more than that, pointing out that he still owns 34% of a law firm that he used to earn, and they know he made at least 1 million euros off the sale of a flat in 2006. So they reckon some of that, there's some income there that he's not declared. François Hollande, François Bayrou, also presidential candidates, but they're taking advantage of loopholes that they have as deputies, as sitting MPs, to pay, in François Hollande's case, only 10% tax on the 100,000 euros he earned last year. And then those candidates who were European MPs, that's Eva Joly, Marine Le Pen, and someone else. Jean-Luc Mélenchon, sorry. They also take advantage of a loophole they have as MEPs, which allows them to only pay 22% of tax. And Nathalie Arthaud, apparently, is one of the far-left candidates, paid no tax at all last year because all of the donations that you make to political parties are tax-deductible, and she made more donations to her party than she actually would have had to pay in tax. Oh, wow. So they've all got their ways around it, says the Canard.
OK, and you mentioned Nathalie Arthaud there. She's one of 2 pretty marginal far-left candidates with less than 1% in the polls at the moment. Will Hildebrand has more details on her.
On the far left of France's political spectrum, Jean-Luc Mélenchon dwarfs Philippe Poutou and Nathalie Arthaud. But these lower-profile candidates are anti-capitalism and say they have little in common with either the socialist or left parties.
We have nothing to do with the socialists and their candidate Hollande, and yet people in the Left Party are thinking maybe they could vote for him.
In reality, if you're voting for Mélenchon, you might as well be voting for Hollande.
Artaud and Puteaux have similarities in their platforms, both more radical than what either the Left or Socialist Party propose. They want to impose heavy regulations over the economy and expropriate banks, ban layoffs, and take over companies threatening to relocate. And in order to improve France's purchasing power, they propose raising the minimum wage to 1,700 euros per month after taxes. In order to finance this, heavy taxes would be levied on the wealthy.
The money's there, we must take it. Above all, since it was not long ago people were saying, tax us, we're rich. In order to change things, we need a united response so that the population rediscovers its confidence and its strength.
Puteaux's new anti-capitalist and Artaud's Workers' Struggle Party share some of the same ideology. But Artaud fancies herself as a sole voice for a revolution.
We're revolutionary communists. We believe that we should be moving towards a society that gets rid of exploitation, one without class, without inequalities. And then we reorganize ourselves based on something else other than the law of profit.
Theirs is a campaign of principle. Neither Puteaux nor Artaud will make the second round of elections. Both currently sit at less than 1% of support in the polls.
Well, that's just about it from us for now. Many thanks for watching live from Paris. And don't forget, there's more French politics with Elena Casas at the same time tomorrow. So do stay tuned. And stay with us now. More news headlines coming up after the weather.